What do you do when you find a spider in your house? Some people run and scream and hide. I know some people who actually get something and open a door and shoot the spider outside because they don't want to do harm to any living creature. And then there are most people who do what? They squash it. They stomp on it and smash that thing as flat as a human foot can make it. And then what do? Then what do they do after they've squashed it? Something that most people don't even think about, but they do anyway. They lift up their foot and look. They check to make sure the thing is crushed, to make sure it is dead. And if you think about it, you know it's going to be a horrible, ghastly, disgusting sight. I can see your faces right now. I won't dwell on it any longer, but you know it's going to be horrible, and yet you have to lift your foot and look, don't you? You have to look and see to make sure that terrifying creature is truly ended. And that needs to be our focus as we approach this portion of God's Word. What is happening in the spiritual realm is horrifying, is terrifying to us. If we're able to peel back the curtain, lift up the foot and see what's going on back there, under there, behind there, if we dare to peek, we'll see that what's happening in the spiritual realm is terrifying. I don't know if you've ever been to St. Louis, Missouri, to the city. They have a man-made monument in St. Louis. It's called the Arch. The St. Louis Arch. And I think it's a little over 600 feet high. And I've ridden the little egg-shaped elevator up to the top of the arch, and I've looked down, and it's an incredible sight. People, tiny little people walking around beneath you, and you can go and look out at the Mississippi River, or you can go the other way and look at the courthouse, and if it's a baseball day, you can see Busch Stadium and see the tiny little players running back and forth. It's an incredible thing to see. But I wanted to peek behind the curtain. I wanted to see what had happened. Unfortunately, the builders of the arch have a museum underneath, and they'll let you. You can pay extra, of course, and watch a video on how they constructed the arch. You can peek behind the curtain. But you know what? Watching the video of how they built the arch, seeing the people working at those incredible heights, and the tools that they had to employ, and the ways they welded the metal together and created the actual arching shape, which is a difficult thing to create that high in the air, seeing how it was done didn't make it any less impressive. If anything, peeling back that curtain made it more impressive. Daniel is brought a word here in verse 1. This vision of a man brings him a word, a peek behind the supernatural curtain, a peek at what's called a great conflict. He gets a peek behind the supernatural curtain, but he is allowed to understand the word, to understand the vision. The peek behind the curtain just makes the universe more impressive to Daniel. And that's our first main point here. God gives supernatural insight. This peek behind the curtain just makes the universe more impressive to Daniel. And that is a supernatural insight that God gives. What's Daniel been doing? For 3 weeks, what's he been doing? Verse 2 says, for 3 weeks he's been in mourning. Likely he's talking about the repenting for his people, for Israel, for Judah's sins, for what they've done to put them in exile. He's been in mourning. He's had nothing to eat. No delicacies, at least. No wine, no meat. It also says he has not anointed himself. Now, I don't know how many of you, it's been very, very dry. It doesn't feel dry today. But I was joking with some of the homeschool families this past Wednesday as the kids played out in the yard and all the dust was billowing everywhere. We're living in desert conditions for a while. It's like New Mexico out there. The dust was billowing. People in our own congregations are beginning nosebleeds from the dry climate. Daniel's living in Mesopotamia. It's a dry climate. He's not putting lotions. It's likely what he's talking about, not putting lotions on himself. He's letting his skin get dry and chafed. by the horrible weather there, by the intemperate climate, and he's not eating anything fancy. He's in mourning here. He's mourning for his people's sin. He's praying about natural struggles, but he gets this vision there on the bank of the Tigris and gets introduced to the supernatural struggle. Verses 3 through 9, look at the description of this man. This vision of a man. He's dressed in linen, so white, clean, pure linen. His belt is shining like gold. His body is glowing with this inner light described like the precious stone beryl. That's B-E-R-Y-L. This flashing gemstone is what his body is like. His eyes are like flaming torches. His arms and legs look like bronze. And when he speaks, his voice is like the roar of a crowd. That's intimidating. That's powerful. That's terrifying. And what happens? The guys that are there with Daniel, the men who are there with him, they can't even see this vision. They can't even see the man. But because the supernatural curtain is being peeled back just a little bit, they sense that they're in the presence of the supernatural and they run and hide. But it's worse for Daniel because he doesn't just sense the supernatural, he has to look upon it. He has to see it. And it says he looked good before this, which is amazing since he hasn't eaten anything tasty or taken care of himself with his dry skin. But he said he had a radiant appearance before. But when he sees the supernatural, what happens? His appearance changes, his strength leaves him, and he falls flat down on his face, which is not a comfortable position. He collapses before this. But something amazing here. Look at verse 12. It's revealed that this terrifying vision, this terrifying supernatural being, is actually a good guy. With his voice, this thunderclap, this loud roar of a crowd voice speaks, what does he say to Daniel? He says, "Fear not. I'm bringing you a good word. I'm bringing you a word. I'm coming to peel back the curtain, coming to bring you a word, peel back the cover of the supernatural, to bring you a message. But this man, this powerful, this terrifying man has been what? He's been delayed. He's been delayed. Someone called the Prince of Persia has delayed him for 21 days. So this powerful being is not perfect. This terrifying, bronze-looking, roar of a voice, flashing-eyed being is not perfect. He has limitations. He can be slowed down, and he actually needs help to get to Daniel, needs help to accomplish his mission from another prince, a chief prince called Michael. So we have to understand that this man is not a personification of God, because God doesn't need help. This man vision then must be, because he's a good guy, must be an angelic messenger of God. This is an angelic messenger. Now, all of this, we just need to pause, because all of this can be really tough to accept. Visions and people falling on their faces in fear and all this sounds like supernatural stuff, superstitious, ghosts and goblins. We're getting ready for Halloween. That's what this all sounds like. It's easy for us just to say, well, I don't believe in all of that. I don't believe in that supernatural stuff. I don't believe in all of that. This may be tough to accept because we're modern people. We live in a modern world. And all this sounds like something out of a movie. This sounds like a Hollywood special effect. You may notice in your bulletin the title of this sermon. That's not an accident. It's a movie quote. They're here. That's what the little girl says in Poltergeist. When the ghosts, when the spirits are trying to come and get her through the television set. And that's what this may make you think of, some kind of movie. And it may not be Poltergeist, it may be Paranormal Activity. It could even be The Screaming Skull, which is a real movie, by the way. It's terrible, but it's a real movie. It may make you think of some goofy Hollywood creation, because that's the only place where we're slightly comfortable dealing with the supernatural. Okay, it's over there on the screen. I've got my popcorn. I can hide my eyes. But you say, I don't believe in that unless it's some, silly fake Hollywood version. Then I can deal with it. But we can't say, I don't believe in all of that. Why? Because Jesus believed in all of that. A large portion of Jesus' earthly ministry was casting demons out of people. We can't say, we're modern people, we don't buy it. Because Jesus said it's real. And also, this passage of Daniel is writing that it's real. He's experiencing it. He's seeing it. And it's supposed to create a change in him. And it has to create a change in us to go any further. Because we're in Daniel chapter 10. We've still got 3 more sermons from Daniel, I believe. We've still got to go through Daniel 12. And to get any further here, to get to Daniel 10, Daniel 11, Daniel 12, to even approach these, you have to accept what this passage says. That the supernatural world exists. This angelic messenger has come to bring a word, to make sure that Daniel knows that something deeper is going on behind the curtain. Something is going on in Israel's life, in Judah's life, in his life, behind the curtain. 70%, you may know this statistic already, many of you are professional educators, 70% of recent high school valedictorians have been young ladies. 70% of high school recent valedictorians have been girls. And I was reading an article about that, and all sorts of different explanations were given for why this might be. And I'm going to rattle off some of them to you, and you be listening and hear which one you think is most likely why 70% of valedictorians are girls. Here's some of the reasons. Women are naturally more intelligent than men. That was one. Naturally more driven than men. Women are naturally more driven. Here's another one. Society demands more from ladies, so they are inspired to succeed more. Here's another one. Society has been holding women back, so in response now, they are pushing themselves to succeed. Here's another one. Society has been fostering complacency and timidity in males and assertiveness and confidence in females. All those reasons, possible reasons, were given. And you don't have to shout out, I heard some of you already say, but you don't have to shout out which one of those you accept. But no matter which of these is your opinion, hopefully we can all agree that more is going on behind the scenes with these valedictorians than just a bunch of smart girls. Something is going on beneath the surface here to make a vast majority of valedictorians young ladies instead of young men. Factors beneath the surface. And that's our second point here from this passage. God gives natural insight. Not just supernatural insight. That supernatural insight, that peek behind the curtain, gives us insight into our natural world. There's more going on beneath the surface of the natural world. Who is this Prince of Persia? Who is this Prince of Persia, this one who's able to halt the approach of an angelic messenger for 21 days, able to delay him? Who is that? Who do you think of when you hear Prince? I think of the British royal family. I can't help it. They're on every tabloid at every grocery store. I think Prince Henry, Prince William, even Prince Charles, if you remember that guy. But can Prince Henry, can Prince William, can they stop the approach of an angelic messenger? Do they have that ability? I don't think so. They may be part of the largest landowning family in the world, but that's not really much to the supernatural world. So who is this talking about here? Most likely this Prince of Persia is referring to an evil supernatural force. Some type of demonic force, some type of demonic activity that is somehow allied behind the scenes with the pagan Persian Empire. This suggests that political and military strength, when it opposes God's kingdom, is being supported by evil forces beneath the surface, behind the scenes, behind that supernatural curtain. There is demonic forces. There are demonic forces at work supporting things that oppose God's kingdom. And this prince of Persia got in the way of this powerful, loud-voiced, bronze-skinned, angelic messenger. Got in his way. But was this messenger stopped? No. How do we know? Because he's here talking to Daniel. But he tells how he got through. He was able to subdue the prince of Persia through the help of another good guy, Michael, one of the chief princes. You've probably heard of him before. You've probably heard of the archangel Michael referred to often. Another good guy helps him. And then in verse 20, after he's done, about to finish delivering this message, this bronze-skinned messenger says he's going to go back and fight with the prince of Persia again. He's going to fight against him more. A fight against the demonic forces upholding the empire of Persia. He's got more fighting to do. And this suggests something else that's very popular in Hollywood. A cosmic tug of war. That God and Satan are in a battle for the souls of mankind, and there's a tug of war. And I'm not going to name all the movies it's in. I always think of The Omen, where Gregory Peck has to stop the Antichrist showing up. He's trying to help God win the fight. And this suggests a cosmic tug of war. But notice something, though. Don't buy the Hollywood version of what's happening here, because this is not an undecided contest. It's not undetermined who's going to win, the prince of Persia or this prince of Judah. It's not undetermined because, and how do we know that? When Daniel first started trying to understand, when he was first speaking to God in humility, the answer to his prayer went out. That's what our messenger says. The response, the word went out. Because you spoke in humility, the word went out. When Daniel started, the word went out. God wanted the message to be delivered, and it was delivered. There was no chance here. It was just the process. Just the process happens here. This isn't an undecided contest. For God's glory to be known, He allows this supernatural warfare. And for His glory, He inspires Daniel to tell us about it. To peel back the curtain and say, yeah, there's more going on behind this curtain in the supernatural realm than you've seen, but I am sovereign over it. I'm winning this war. This war is actually already won. The message God wanted delivered, and He delivered it. But there's another fight waiting, isn't there? This messenger tells him, yeah, I'm going to go fight the prince of Persia. And guess what? There's another evil prince, another supernatural evil force coming. Named what? Not Persia anymore, because Persia isn't going to last. What's next? What's he saying? The Prince of Greece. Another. And what do we know about world history? What's the next mighty empire to come? Greece. After Persia is Greece. So there's going to be an evil force supporting that godless empire as well. The Prince of Greece is coming. Another fight waiting for him. Verse 14, this messenger tells Daniel that he paused his fight with the Prince of Persia with the help of Michael to give Daniel the ability to see behind the scenes, to deliver a prophecy, a vision for days to come. To say, I'm going to give you this window and what's going on behind the supernatural curtain so you can be prepared for what is going to come and know that God is in charge of it. Verse 21, we see the vision of what's to come. The reference to this thing called the Book of Truth. That's most likely a reference to God's plan for the universe. And it's God's revealed plan for the universe. God's revealed plan for His people. that satanic conflict will be allowed to continue. Adversaries to God's kingdom will shift, will rise, will change. Nations will rise and powers will rise and fall. But Daniel gets good news. God's people are being protected and upheld through the ministry of God's own angels. Like we read from Hebrews 1. Ministers sent to serve those who are to receive the promise of salvation. But where does this leave us thousands of years later? Where does this leave us? Are angels enough? Are angels enough to keep us in that book of truth? Are angels enough to help us see God's revealed plan for our future? What was the author of Hebrews, chapter 1, verses 13 and 14, really writing about? That there's one higher than the angels, who the enemies of God's kingdom are but a footstool for his feet. They did a recent medical study. A medical study of 8,000 people, all age 45 or older. And they discovered that substituting 30 minutes a day of mild activity for 30 minutes of sitting still, 30 minutes of being sedentary, if you substitute 30 minutes of sitting still for 30 minutes of mild activity every day, your risk of death is lowered by 45%. It's huge. I don't know if that's going to change any of our habits, but that's huge. That's insight for a longer life. But that's what this angelic messenger is giving, more than just an insight for a longer life, more than just Daniel, get up and exercise. He's delivering an insight for the longest life. And that's our third point and final point today. Not only does God give supernatural insight, not only does God give natural insight, God gives salvation insight. Daniel, twice in this story, is struck down, is stricken by the comparison, by seeing the supernatural veil lifted, by seeing just how weak and pathetic he is. He thought he understood strength and power in this world, and he sees now and has explained to him that there's more going on than he's ever known before. His natural world is shaken by the supernatural contact, and he falls on his face. But this vision of a man, verse 10, tells him to do what? First, he's touched and lifted to his hands and knees, and then told, stand upright. Stand upright. He is then able to stand and receive good news. And you need today to receive this good news, that God is stronger than man, God is stronger than demons, and God is stronger than evil. But still, there's more for us thousands of years after this. Verse 11, why is Daniel getting this peek behind the supernatural curtain? It's actually a gift of God. We're told in verse 11, he is a man greatly loved. Verse 12, his prayer has been answered. He's been in mourning. He's been praying in repentance. But he gets an even deeper answer. His words were heard because he humbled himself. He humbled himself before God. Daniel is praying in mourning, saying he can't save Israel. He can't save Judah. He can't even save himself. He's admitting that. And what's the result? What's the result? God delivers his salvation message to Daniel. And no demon, no prince of Persia could stand in the way. Verses 15 and 16, Daniel's given this incredible supernatural insight, and what happens to him again? He's been told to stand upright. He's been told he's a man greatly loved. He's been told that he's been heard, that he's in favor because he's humbled himself. But what? He still can't handle it. He can't handle the peel behind the curtain, and he is once again unable to speak. He can't even keep repenting unless he gets help. He can't even keep repenting unless he gets help. And he gets help, doesn't he? He's touched by another one. And what's the description of this other one? One like one of the children of man touches him. We dealt with that title, didn't we, back in Daniel 7? That's Jesus' most preferred title for himself in the Gospels, is the Son of Man. Now, we can't go so far as to say for sure that this is a personification of Jesus touching him here. We can't go that far. We can't say that for sure. But don't ignore the gospel connection here. What did we read from? Well, in Colossians 1, that Jesus was the fullness of the deity in bodily form. Jesus was all God and all man at the same time. But yet, even though he was all God, had all the power of God, what does Isaiah 53 tell us about Jesus? That he wasn't remarkable in appearance at all. That there was nothing about his countenance that would draw people to him. Even though he was completely, perfectly, totally sovereign power, God himself in human form, there was nothing about him that looked like burnished bronze and flashing eyes. That's another Hollywood myth you have to dispel. In movies about Jesus, he always has brilliant blue eyes, which is a very unusual thing in the ancient Near East. Nothing about him, the fullness of the deity in bodily form, yet not remarkable in appearance. And this unremarkable looking one touches Daniel's lips, and he's able to speak again. Today, have your lips touched by one higher than the angels, the one the author of Hebrews was writing about, the infinitely powerful Son of God who took on unremarkable appearance to die for you. Understand today, our sin conspired with demonic forces behind the curtain to kill the Son of Man. But God's power over evil, by that power over evil, he rose again. Because God's salvation message cannot be stopped. Hear that message today. And hear it from the words that Daniel was inspired to write. Read with me. Look at verse 19. O man greatly loved, fear not. Peace be with you. Be strong and of good courage. That's what this one with the unremarkable appearance of one of the children of men, that's what he says to Daniel. And Daniel is able to talk again. He says, speak. Speak. I can hear any message from you now. Speak, for you have strengthened me. I can accept this knowledge of all the evil I can see and even all the evil I can't see, because I know that I am greatly loved and God is my strength. Today, look at Jesus as proof that you are greatly loved. Look at his death on your behalf as proof that you are one greatly loved. Rely on Jesus as your strength to stand upright and receive God's salvation message. Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for this salvation message. Empower us now to live our life at peace, to be strong and full of good courage, to face the certain trouble ahead, even more certain that by your proven power, in the resurrection, all evil is overcome by you, and our salvation is guaranteed. Grant us that surety today, Lord, we pray. In Christ's blessed name. Amen. If I could ask the elders to come forward now as we prepare the elements.